All right. So, you sent over this pretty intense collection of stuff all about surviving a gunfight.
Yeah.
And we've got like articles, we have some research papers. We even have a guide from a former Navy SEAL.
Wow. Yeah. A
So,
lot.
yeah, for this deep dive, we're going to try to extract the most practical stuff.
Yeah, okay.
The evidence-based tactics that could really help someone in a situation like this.
Yeah, it's interesting because, it's not just like hypothetical stuff.
Right.
You've got hard data from the National Crime Victimization Survey.
The NCDS.
Yeah, exactly. And then we even have analysis of real gunfight footage.
Wow.
And then even just like expert advice on all this stuff, like how to pick cover, how to, clear a jammed weapon.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but that's where we come in, I guess.
Yeah, that's our job, right?
Yeah, and going through all this,
Yeah.
it was surprising to me how many misconceptions there are around gunfights.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like, a lot of people think that if you're ever in one, you're going to get shot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's almost inevitable.
Yeah, that's a common assumption, but the data we have shows something a little more nuanced.
Okay,
Yeah.
like there's this 2018 study, and they use simulation rounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to recreate these scenarios, and the results are really interesting.
Interesting.
People who moved and used cover, well, they were a lot less likely to get hit.
That's really interesting. And I think that really just brings it all back to training beyond just standing at the range and shooting at a static target.
Right.
You really need to develop those skills to assess a threat and then make quick decisions and know how to use the things around you to help you.
So it's not just about being a good shot, it's about being a smart fighter.
Exactly. You need to adapt.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to think on your feet,
Right.
especially in those situations because there's so much stress.
Okay, this next point from the NCVS data was kind of eye-opening to me.
Oh, yeah.
Using a gun for self-defense is linked to a lower injury rate for the victim compared to other responses.
Yeah.
Like complying, running, hiding.
That's right.
That was really surprising to me.
Yeah. And, one possible explanation is deterrence.
Okay.
Yeah. Having a gun can really shift that whole encounter.
Right.
It might make an attacker think twice about the situation.
Right. So if they see you're prepared to defend yourself, they're less likely to keep attacking.
Yeah, potentially it could stop the violence from even starting.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not just about having the gun, though.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
about knowing how to use it.
Yes, exactly.
And that brings us back to the importance of movement and cover.
Absolutely. Both the simulation and the analysis of the actual gunfights show that standing still is a huge risk.
It makes sense.
Yeah, you want to be moving.
Right.
Make it hard to hit you.
It'd be unpredictable.
Yes, and the cover is just as important.
Yeah.
I need something solid.
Like an engine block.
Yeah, like an engine block or a concrete wall, something that can stop a bullet.
Right. Not a mailbox.
No, not a mailbox.
So moving with a purpose, thinking about your next advantage.
Exactly. It's like chess, but way higher stakes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, speaking of tactics, one thing that really stood out to me was this emphasis on drawing your weapon effectively. Like the element of surprise seems like it's really important here.
Absolutely. You don't want to show your hand too early.
Right.
The concealed carry video analysis had some interesting stuff on this.
Well,
It said that delaying your draw until they're distracted and then obscuring your movements,
okay.
it can be really, really effective.
That makes sense. Like if you can catch them off guard, you're more likely to gain control of the situation.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And when you're actually drawing the weapon, the choice of holster really matters.
Oh, yeah. You need something secure, but also something that lets you get to it fast.
Right. Because every second counts.
Exactly.
So there's that trade-off there between security and speed.
Yeah, you need to find the sweet spot.
Right.
It's not just about getting it out, though.
Okay.
You need to know what to do next.
Okay.
All of the sources talked about these essential gunfight skills.
Okay, beyond just being a good shot.
Yeah.
Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, one is just a solid grip on your weapon.
Okay.
Especially under pressure, it's really easy to lose control.
Yeah. I can imagine the adrenaline. Your hands would be shaking.
Exactly. So that's why they say you need to develop a grip that's really firm and consistent so you can control that recoil and keep your aim steady.
So it's about training your muscles to react correctly.
Exactly.
Even when you're stressed.
Yes. And another crucial skill is trigger control.
Okay.
Being able to press that trigger smoothly, deliberately, so you're not jerking the gun off target.
Right.
It's speed and accuracy.
It sounds like something that takes so much practice.
It does, and they suggest dry fire drills.
Okay.
So that way you can focus on the trigger control without having to deal with live rounds.
Okay.
And they also say breathing is really important.
Oh, wow.
Slow, controlled breaths.
Right.
Keep that heart rate down, and then keep your aim steady.
It's like a meditation technique.
Yeah, in a way it is. It's about being calm when everything around you is crazy.
And then finally, we have to talk about clearing malfunctions. Because jams happen at the worst possible times.
It's Murphy's Law.
It is.
That's why they say you need to master that tap rack bang drill.
Okay.
Simple, but it's effective.
Okay.
For clearing like the most common malfunctions.
Okay. Can you just like walk us through that?
Yeah. So first you tap the bottom of the magazine.
Okay.
Make sure it's in there good.
Right.
Then you rack the slide to get rid of that bad round and get a new one in there.
Okay.
And then finally you aim and fire.
Okay. So tap the magazine, rack the slide bang.
Exactly.
Got it.
You got it.
I see how that would be helpful if you're in a really panic situation.
Yeah. It takes practice, but it could save your life.
It could. Okay. So we covered a lot here.
Yeah, we did.
You know, from debunking those myths to looking at some really important skills and even like the mental part of all this.
Yeah, the mental game is huge. And, you know, we really just scratched the surface.
Yeah. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to surviving a gunfight.
I'm ready to dive in. Let's move on to part 2.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so picking up where we left off, let's get a little deeper into Cade Courtley's SEAL steps.
Okay.
You know, beyond just knowing your exits and cover, he talks about being like really, really observant of the people around you.
Yeah, almost like developing a sixth sense for danger.
Yeah, and even specifically mentions like, you know, being wary of people with oversized bags or like clothing that doesn't really fit the weather.
Yeah.
It's about noticing the little things that could mean they're hiding something, like a weapon.
Yeah, it makes me think of that Sherlock Holmes quote. You see, but you do not observe.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's all about the details.
It is.
And most people would just miss.
And Courtley doesn't stop there. He also talks about like having a mental plan.
Okay.
Almost like a pre-rehearsed escape route in case you find yourself in one of these situations.
So it's about having options.
Not being stuck with just one plan that might not work.
You got it.
Yeah.
He recommends having at least 3 different ways out of a place.
Okay.
Ideally, they all lead in different directions.
Right.
That way, if one's blocked, you have backup.
Yeah.
He even talks about considering things like second floor windows.
Wow. So thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you have to improvise.
Yeah.
You can't be tied to just one plan when it's life or death.
Right. Okay. So another big takeaway from all this stuff is the difference between concealment and cover.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, we talked about it before.
Yeah.
But it's worth saying again.
Yeah.
It's not just about hiding.
Right.
It's about finding protection from bullets.
Exactly. Concealment hides you from view.
Right.
But cover, that's what actually protects you from getting hit.
So like an engine block.
Yeah, a good example.
Yeah.
Solid, dense, it'll stop a bullet.
Right. But a mailbox or a thin wooden door?
Yeah, they might hide you, but they won't stop a bullet.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction.
It is. And, you know, that's where those mental rehearsals can really help. If you already know where the good cover is, you can react faster.
Yeah, it's like having a mental map of safe zones.
It really is. Okay, so let's talk about fighting back as a last resort.
Okay.
Courtley knows that there might be times when you just can't run or hide.
Yeah, like if you're trapped.
Yeah.
Or the attacker's right there.
Exactly. And in those cases, he suggests things like creating a surprise ambush.
Okay.
You know, use the element of surprise to your advantage.
And what if you don't have a weapon?
Well, he even talks about improvised weapons.
Okay.
Anything you can use to defend yourself. A fire extinguisher, a heavy object.
Wow.
Even a chair.
Okay.
It's about using whatever you can to protect yourself.
It's tough to talk about this.
Yeah, it is.
But it's important.
It is.
It takes a lot of mental strength to go from feeling helpless to taking action.
It does. You have to overcome that instinct to freeze.
Yeah.
And find that will to survive.
Right.
Fight back with everything you've got.
It's not something anyone wants to think about.
No.
But being mentally prepared for that could be the difference.
It could. Okay, so shifting gears a bit. Let's go back to movement.
Oh.
We talked about not standing still.
Right. Being a moving target.
Yes. But there's more to it than just running.
Okay.
You need to move with purpose.
Right.
Think about your next advantage.
So using movement to get to better cover.
Yes.
Or to outmaneuver them.
Exactly. There's a specific technique they talk about called lateral movement.
I've heard that term.
Yeah.
but I'm not sure I totally get it.
So think of it this way. Instead of moving towards or away from the threat, you move sideways, perpendicular to the attacker. So imagine the gunman's at the front of the room, and you're along a side wall. Instead of running straight for the exit at the back, you would move along the wall towards the door, always staying perpendicular to the shooter.
So you're not moving in a straight line.
Exactly.
You're harder to hit.
Exactly, a small difference, but it could save your life.
Wow.
And it goes along with another skill shooting while moving.
Wow. That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of practice.
Yeah.
But it can be a way to keep the attacker's head down while you reposition or find better cover.
So it's about taking the offensive.
In a way, yeah. It's about controlling the situation as much as you can.
Not just reacting.
Exactly. And that brings us to another tactic, delaying your draw. We talked about drawing quickly, but there are times when it's better to wait.
That seems counterintuitive.
I know.
Why wouldn't you want to draw as soon as possible?
Well, think about it. The attacker might be focused on other things. Like demanding valuables or making threats. This could give you a chance to draw your weapon without them noticing.
Use their focus against them.
Exactly. Wait for that moment of distraction and then act. And they also talk about obscuring your movements when you draw.
Make it harder for them to see what you're doing.
So like using your body as a shield.
Yeah.
Or timing it with a sudden movement.
Yes, exactly. Be subtle, be deceptive.
Okay, let's talk about those essential gunfight skills.
Yeah.
We talked about marksmanship. But it's more than just hitting a target.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It sounds like there's a lot more to it.
There is one of the most basic skills is a solid grip on your weapon. Sounds basic, but under pressure, it's really easy to lose it.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, so that's why they say you need a grip that's firm and consistent. That way you can control the recoil and keep your aim steady. They even recommend specific drills to build grip strength and stability.
So training your muscles.
Exactly.
To react correctly under stress.
Yes. Another crucial skill is trigger control. Being able to press the trigger smoothly and deliberately without jerking the gun off target. Balance of speed and accuracy.
It sounds like it takes a lot of practice.
It does, and they recommend dry fire drills again. So you can work on trigger control without live rounds. And they also say breathing properly is super important. Take slow, controlled breaths. Help regulate that heart rate. And steady your aim.
It's like meditation for shooting.
Yeah, you could say that. You got to be calm and focused.
When things are crazy.
When things are crazy, exactly. And finally, we have to talk about clearing malfunctions.
Yeah, because like we said, jams happen.
They do, and it's always at the worst time.
It is.
So they say you got to master the tap rack bang drill. Simple but effective. It can clear most common malfunctions.
Can you walk us through it?
Yeah. First, you tap the bottom of the mag, make sure it's seated properly. Then you rack the slide to eject that bad round and chamber a new one. And finally, you aim and fire again.
So tap the mag.
Yes.
Rack the slide bang.
Exactly.
Got it.
You go.
I can see how that would be really helpful in a high-pressure situation.
It is. It takes practice, but it could save your life.
It could. Okay, so we covered so much in this section.
We really did.
You know, from situational awareness to tactical movement to these essential gunfight skills.
Yeah. And it's pretty intense stuff. But the bottom line is you got to be prepared. The more you train, the more you practice, the more prepared you'll be when you don't expect it. And even when it feels dangerous, remember, you have the power to choose. You have the power to act.
That's a great point. This has given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
Ready to go to part 3?
Absolutely. Let's finish this up.
Okay. So, you know, one thing that really surprised me when we were looking at that gunfight footage. Was that in almost half of those incidents, there was more than one attacker.
Yeah, that changes things.
It does.
Our sources, they really stressed that you can't assume it's just one person you're dealing with.
Yeah, you're so focused on the guy with the gun.
Right.
That you could miss someone else who's just as dangerous.
Exactly. Especially with robberies, they often work in pairs.
Oh, wow.
You've got the gunman, the obvious threat, and then the grab man who's collecting the valuables. And what's really scary is that a lot of times the grab man is also armed.
Oh, wow. So you could end up facing two armed opponents.
Yeah, the odds change pretty dramatically.
They do, and that just makes that 360-degree awareness even more important.
Yes, you can't just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
You need to be looking all around you all the time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also makes these situations even more terrifying.
It does. And here's another thing from our sources that's pretty sobering.
Okay.
If you decide to draw your weapon during a robbery, hoping to get the attacker to surrender, there's a big risk.
Yeah.
Almost 50%
wow.
of being at the mercy of an accomplice.
That's scary.
It is. And they didn't try to make it sound better.
Yeah.
They said these accomplices often have no mercy. It really makes you think about the risks.
It does.
You're not dealing with people who are going to follow the rules.
Right. So you have to be ready to act.
Yes.
If you draw your weapon, you have to be committed.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no room for second guessing.
Not when it's life or death. Okay, here's something else that I found kind of unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of the gunfights, there was actually physical contact.
Really?
Yeah, between the defender and the attacker.
I always thought of gunfights as being more about distance.
Yeah, me too, like in the movies.
Yeah, it's always like that in the movies.
Yeah.
But the reality can be very different.
Yeah.
They talked about pushing, shoving, even trying to control the attacker's arms.
So it can get really up close and personal.
It can, and that's why having some basic self-defense skills is so important.
Yeah.
Things like disarming techniques or grappling.
Wow, so it's like another level of preparedness.
Yeah, exactly.
Having those close quarters combat skills.
You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah.
Not just standing at a range, you know. You need to be practicing for those unpredictable situations.
Where you might have to fight someone up close.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We went from debunking common myths to exploring some really advanced tactics.
Right.
And even looking at the reality of gunfights.
Yeah, it's been pretty intense.
It has, but hopefully we've given you a good foundation and some valuable insights into the skills and the mindset you need to survive in a dangerous situation.
Right. But as we said, you know, knowledge without action, it's pointless.
It is.
Yeah, it's up to each person to take this information and use it.
Exactly.
You know, train, practice, and really develop those skills.
And remember, even when it feels scary, you have the power to make choices. You have the power to take action.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation.
Yeah,
it's given me a lot to think about, and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Yeah, me too. Stay safe out there.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.